to say it.
Usually we get like a couple of weeks and why it's not just like that, why it's that. The whole history, huh? Okay.
No, ready?
Yeah.
All right. Live on Facebook.
Tanya is a book, a sefer, a holy book, that is unique between all other types of books, of Musar, of advice. Tanya is a sefer that teaches you, gives us ethical guidance, teaches us how to be a better person, how to be a better Jew. There are many Sfarim that have been written from the Rishonim, different ethical books, the Chayes Halvavas, and in later generations, there are many Sfarim that were written by Torah scholars, by Torah sages, throughout the generations, who offer this guidance. Tanya has something that's unique and different in the structure of the Sefer, and in the beginning of the Sefer, in the genesis of the Sefer, that you don't find in any other writing. The Alter Rebbe didn't sit down to write a Sefer. It's not that he sat down with his people and he wants to advise them, so therefore he's going to write a Sefer to advise them. That wasn't the plan. Really what happened was, like he says in his introduction, they came to him, people came to him, individuals came to him, Shail and Eitzah. They came to ask his advice. They came to ask him for guidance. Guidance how to be a better person, how to be a better human being, how to be a better Jew. And they raised issues with him, issues about their own personal life, about their own personal struggles, about their own personal challenges. That's how it all started. The Alter Rebbe started as a singular person, but as life moved on and he became a Rebbe and a more accepted Rebbe, he had thousands of followers. It reached to a degree that it was impossible for him to see people privately, almost impossible. And therefore the Hasidim and Alter Rebbe organized a certain system of when you could come. You couldn't all come to Lajna at the same time, the city where he was, and then later in Ladi. They couldn't come all at the same time because there was so many people. And yet, on the other hand, it was important to speak to Alter Rebbe to ask him for guidance. And that's what he says. This sefer started with people asking for advice, and he started writing down the lessons that and the advice that he gave them. When a Rebbe gives advice, it's not because he's very smart. When a Rebbe gives advice, it's not only because he has Ruach HaKodesh, he's a holy man, so he knows what's going on in other people's heart. When a Rebbe gives advice, it has to be based on Torah. It has to be based on the insights of all aspects of Torah, of Halacha, and of Kabbalah, and of Chassidus. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe, when he was giving the people the advice and what the struggles that they had, he based all of this on certain principles that he took from Sfarim, from earlier generations, and much of Kabbalah. And of course, mainly his teachers, the fathers, the patriarchs of the Hasidic movement, the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid. The issues that the Tanya deals with are issues that are contemporary to this day. The core issue applies to every human being, because every human being has different sides to him. And every human being asks himself these questions. On one hand, we're talking about normal people. He could be very noble, and he'll do acts of charity. Or he can be very pious, and he could daven at length, give a lot of tzedakah, focus in advancing his knowledge of Torah. And on the other hand, he finds himself materialistic and maybe even vulgar. And he asks himself, who am I? Am I the vulgar person who has sometimes vulgar thoughts? Am I the selfish person who sometimes is selfish? Or am I this idealistic person that I've been working on myself all my life, which my parents told me, and as I grew up, and especially if the person of Torah, when we study Torah, he has ideals and he has goals. So on one hand he's on this side, and on the other hand he finds himself being on the selfish side. And he asks himself, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? This is the struggle that people have to this day. It could be in different forms. It could be a secular person who's struggling with doing things that are noble for mankind, or being selfish, or even vulgar. It could be a religious person, and specifically the Alter Rebbe was talking about to people in his time, to religious people, people who could be even Torah scholars, and they're living the life even of a chassid, and even that person has his, for no better word, bipolar sides. On one side, he could be davening with intensity, and he could be learning Torah with a passion, and he still sees that there's still that side of him that may even have vulgar thoughts, or selfish, or jealousy, and maybe even doing things that are not appropriate for him. Well, we're all human beings, and that's what the issue over here is. If you want to put it in a nutshell, what was the issue that people were asking advice was about their own struggles, about their own psychology, to understand themselves better, to understand what's the purpose of their life, to ask themselves, who am I? What am I? Why was I born? What is the purpose of my life? These are the questions that are addressed in Tanya. And people came and asked Alter Rebbe these questions, and based on these questions, he built a whole philosophy and a psychology, analyzing the depth of each person's soul, the depth of his thoughts and his speech, and his actions, and how he should analyze himself to see where different feelings are coming from, and if he's truthful to himself. So that's what the Alter Rebbe wrote Tanya. Now we have already in the Gemara talks about the basic personalities. There are three basic personalities that we find in the Gemara, Talmud. The Alter Rebbe divides it into five, but generally three. There's a righteous person, a tzaddik. He does good. There's a rasha, the wicked person. He does evil. And then there's the Beinoni. The Beinoni is in the middle. He's what they call intermediate man. It's a man who is sometimes going between tzaddik and rasha. Really, the Alter Rebbe defines him as not moving, but he is where he is, and it's in the middle. And he's in the middle not because he's nowhere, not because he's confused, but the way the Alter Rebbe is going to define the Beinoni is because he's in the middle, because he has the qualities of a tzaddik and he has the qualities of a rasha. And he has both of these sides in him. Like most of us, almost all of us, we have good and infinite goodness, according to Kabbalah Chassidus, or the possibility to do infinite evil. And we have free choice. And both are in the same person. And that's what Hashem made us. And that's why we have this dichotomy within the same person. And that is something that we all want to understand. And we approach the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe, therefore, after many years, was 10 years in development, and then another 10 years when he wrote it. So it took many, many years for it to put into writing. And first he put it into writing and gave it in little booklets that Chassidim would copy from each other. And then the people were copying it to the degree that some people made mistakes. And that's when the Alter Rebbe said, it's time to print it. And to review it and make it ready for print so it's one standard edition of all. So these three personalities, the tzaddik, the righteous one, the rasha, the wicked one, and the Beinoni who has both qualities, what we'll call the intermediate stage. And that's who we all are. And what's something very special in Tanya, the Beinoni, the one who's in the middle, his goal is not to become a tzaddik necessarily. There's a purpose that Hashem has, and a place that He has in the big plan for people who are always in the middle and have that struggle. And that's going to be one of the points He's going to say later in Tanya. And I know it's part, who said you have to be a tzaddik? We don't have to become perfect. And maybe our whole life we're going to have a struggle. But that makes you a spiritual warrior, not a loser. So he starts Tanya with 2 lines from Gemara. And he's going to ask questions. First 2 questions on the first 2 lines. The Alter Rebbe is going to ask 2 questions, and in these 2 questions is already the foundation. In this analysis and taking apart through these 2 questions, it's already going to prepare us for what's coming in the coming chapters. So he says, Perek Aleph Tanya, the Seif Perek Gimel Denira. So it says in the Gemara, Mashbi Moisei Tein Tzadik V'al Rasha. That a person, a neshama, a soul, before it is born, they make an oath. Hashem wants every soul, before it comes down into this world, has to make an oath that they're going to be a tzaddik and they're not going to be a rasha. Be a tzaddik and not a rasha. Because what's whole life about? It's choices. So are you choosing good or are you choosing evil? This is what life is all about. And the middle is also the middle. It's between good and evil. There's always choices we have. Hashem gave us free choice. But He wants every being, before they take physical life in this physical world, the soul, before it goes into the baby, is in a dimension where it has to make a vow about what kind of life it's going to lead in this physical world. And the vow is to be a tzaddik and not a rasha. What is the importance of a vow? A vow is you swear, I swear. Isn't the person, Hashem made them and told them, listen, gave us the Torah and said, do right and don't do wrong. Be noble and do not be selfish. So why do you have to make a vow? So Hasidic literature explains, I like to use an example of, let's say a person is traveling far away and he leaves behind his child. And he gives his child over to the care of a certain person. So he gives the child over to the care of a certain person, and the child will be cared for him, let's say, for a year. It happens to be turbulent times and a turbulent place, an unpredictable place. So the father and the mother are very worried about leaving their child behind. So they find a person who's trustworthy, and they speak to this person, and they tell them, this is what we're counting on you, this is our only child, and therefore we're entrusting him to you, and we're coming back in a year, we want our child to be healthy and well, take care of him. She says, yes, I will take care of him. You're committing yourself, I'm committing myself. So that would be enough. So this, a father and mother would say to that person, swear that you're going to take care of it. But I don't like to swear. I'm a God-fearing person. I don't like to swear. Swear that you're going to take care of it. So if a person is trustworthy, why do you have to make him swear? This whole idea of oath, you're now under oath. If a person is trustworthy, then believe him. So what is the idea in general? In every system, any legal system, in the Torah system also, there is an oath. You have to do it by oath. What is the significance of oath? And over here, what is the significance of swearing? In the case of the parents that want someone to swear that they're going to take care of their son. The answer is, sometimes one is committed to do something, but he sees challenges. And there's a wall in front of him. There's a fire in the house and there's a wall in front of him. How's he going to get out of the house? So he's going to climb, but he has to take the kid with him. How's he going to climb, save himself, and take the kid with him? So he says, what am I going to do? I don't know. What should I do? But he swore. If you swore, then he's going to make it happen. He's going to figure it out. There's nothing impossible. So why, when he swears, does he figure it out? But they say that in the time of the Russian Revolution, there was a blackout, and as soon as nightfall came, no one was allowed to be in the street. Anyone who's found in the street after nightfall would be shot. So there was a person who was out in the street, and the soldiers said, stop there. So the guy was scared he's going to be caught. So he squeezes himself between two buildings that were built very close together. And he squeezes himself in there, and when the guards passed those buildings, they couldn't see him. And look, they saw somebody. What happened to him? He vanished. Because he really snuck in there, and it was dark, and they didn't see him. When it came in the morning, the guy couldn't get out. He was so stuck in there, he tried to push himself out, he couldn't get out. And he's calling people, get me out. He couldn't get out. They had to take pry open a brick or two to find a way to pull this guy out. So they told us over to the Rebbe Rashab. They said, if he could get in, why couldn't he get out? The same way he got in, you should be able to get out. So the Rebbe Rashab said, to get in, he did it for the life of him. He did it for the life of him. He knew his life was in danger. So he just squeezed himself in. He did the impossible. Now in the morning, he's still there and he's trying to get out. He doesn't have that drive, that adrenaline rush to get him out. So he's stuck. When someone swears to parents that I swear to you, they didn't take his word of honor. But I said, I want to swear. What happens is he's digging deeper in his soul to find a place in his soul where nothing is impossible. Well, almost nothing is impossible. That I will not have any answer to these parents. When they come back, I swore to them that I'm going to save their child no matter, care for their child, even the worst of times. There's nothing stopping me. So that commitment, that responsibility, pushes me to dig deeper in my soul to do the mission that I took upon myself. So therefore the Rebbeim explained, our Rebbes explained, that Hashem, making the soul swear, it's not just swear. We swear, today words is this, do we mean the words or we say don't mean words? But the pshat over here is, the swearing is that he's been loaded with deeper energy and subconscious energy and essential energy, that no matter what, he will be able to overcome any challenge, any difficulties to fulfill his life's mission. So therefore, he's telling the person, be righteous, don't be evil. Do righteous, do the right thing, don't do the wrong thing. Be a tzaddik, don't be a rasha. It's not only that Hashem told you to do it. I made you swear, you swore. And by that you acquired, you swear to Hashem, you swear to the best up there. You acquire a certain energy and a hidden strength and potential that you can overcome all challenges. So that's where the first starts. Mashbi Yossi takes out of Al Tirasha, but then there's another line, there's another sentence in this oath. Part B is, even if the whole world says you're a tzaddik, you should be in your eyes like a Russian. So what's this? Be a tzaddik, be a Russian, I understand why you swear. But why do you have to be in your eyes like a Russian? You be in your eyes like a Russian. What's the point of that? So on this second part B of the oath, the Alter Rebbe asks two questions. First, it contradicts the text of a Mishnah that a person should not be in his eyes like a Russian. So if you're going with text of Gemara and to a Torah scholar, if it says a text in one place one way and it says a text of a Gemara or a verse the opposite, then you have to resolve this. And usually the resolution shows a new insight, a deeper insight in the text. Because it's telling us you shouldn't take the text literally. Because here in the Gemara in Yidden it says, don't, even if the whole world tells you it's tzaddik, consider yourself like a Rasha. But then you say in Pirkei Avos, it says, don't be a Rasha. Don't consider yourself like a Rasha. So should I consider myself like a Rasha? Or shouldn't I consider myself like a Rasha? So this is going to be answered later on. That is a psychological dilemma. Something that a lot of us can relate to. And this is question number 2 that the Alter Rebbe raises here on this page. And that is, the vow is, even if the whole world says I'm a tzaddik, I'm still considering myself like a Rasha. I'm not doing enough. I'm still considered like a Rasha. So, the Alter Rebbe says, we're supposed to take this vow seriously. This vow and the text of the vow, the wording of the vow is in the Gemara, and this is something that up in heaven, they say, these are the words you should say, exactly these words you should say. It's, like when they make they swear in the president, you have the Chief Justice says, say after me, and he has to say these words. So every person when he's born, is becoming president of his life. And the Chief Justice up there is making him swear. And he has to say these exact words. So these words mean something. Each word was chosen up there, that this is what it means. And what is he saying? It doesn't say you shouldn't be happy. No matter even if the whole world says you're a tzaddik, you should be in your eyes like a Rasha. It doesn't say even if the whole world says you should be you're a tzaddik, you should still work on yourself. Be a little positive. Today we're always speaking positive. Don't put anyone down. Don't knock anyone down. Don't use negative terminology. And what's the vow that we made to say? The vow made to say, even if the whole world will think that I'm a tzaddik, I in my eyes will be like a Rasha. That means I should think really that I'm a Rasha? So here we get into a possibility of a big mess. Because if I think that I'm a Rasha, so then I'll become depressed. Right? I'm an evil person. People who are always knocking themselves end up by a psychologist. Because always, why are you knocking yourself? The whole thing about self-esteem, don't say you're in Russia. Don't say you're evil. Don't say you're wicked. And here you tell him, say you. Even if the whole world says you're righteous, you should say you should consider yourself like a Russian. So then you're going to become depressed. What's wrong with being depressed? So here in modern terminology, depression puts you down. It's dangerous. Who knows what can happen if a person is depressed? But he brings a verse. We're supposed to serve Hashem with joy. So how, what do you want from this person? He's taking serious the vow that he made. He's thinking to himself, let's play this out. He's born, he's now 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old. And he says, I made a vow. Everyone thinks I'm great. Even my wife thinks I'm great. But you know what? I know I'm a Russian. So do I really think that? Yeah, because I did this or that thing, that third thing. So I know that I'm not as great as people think. And I'm like a Russian. And they want me to swear to think about that. So if I really believe it, then I'm going to become depressed. And if I don't, if I don't believe it, then it's fake. So since they said that I should swear that I won't be a Russian, so I'm supposed to take this seriously, that I'm in fact like a Russian. So if I'm in fact a Russian, either I become depressed, and if I'm not going to become depressed, I can have a bigger problem, a psychological issue. Somebody who does things wrong, someone who's a sinner, someone who hurts others, he feels guilty once, twice, a third time. Someone who cheats once, twice, a third time, and he feels guilty about it. After a while, he's going to stop feeling guilty. Stop feeling guilty. He's going to take it lightly. Sometimes you can analyze a person from their attitude. If you see people taking cheating lightly, it means they're cheaters. People take things lightly because it doesn't matter. It's a show of lack of values. So here we have a problem. And this is a psychological dilemma. And I'm playing out the vow. I'm supposed to think I'm like a Russia, and I'm supposed to believe that this is true, that I have wickedness in me, or I'm wicked, then I should feel depressed. And if I'm wicked and I don't feel depressed, then I'm going to become immune. I'm going to become immune to evil. I'm going to become immune and insensitive to wrong. Many people today are insensitive to wrong. Wrong is happening, and they're watching wrong happening, and they're insensitive to it. They don't care. No one cares. Why? Because when you see evil happening, you see wrongdoing happening again and again and again, or you, especially if you yourself are doing things that are inappropriate again and again and again, so after a while you become insensitive. So therefore, the question over here, the Alter Rebbe is asking, this part B of this vow, you're putting a person in a very big spot. Because you're saying that he should consider himself like a Rasha, he's considered himself like he's wicked. So, and he should take this seriously. So if he takes it seriously, he's going to become depressed. If he doesn't take it seriously, and he sees his faults, and he doesn't become depressed, then he's going to become insensitive. So these are two questions. And in these two questions, we're going to see that there's more than two categories here. Because he's going to answer these questions later. And I'm not going to go into the details, but he's going to say, be it tzaddik, there's a tzaddik, then there's a rasha, which are very clear lines of demarcation. This is the good and the holy, and this is the wicked. And then in between is someone who's not as like a rasha, but he's not a rasha. It says, "Yeh be'einav kir rasha," and you should be in your eyes like a rasha, but not mavish a rasha. So you're like a rasha, you're like a person of evil. That means you also have good. So that's one of the ways he's going to resolve this dilemma. That you're not a rasha, so you're all evil, so you shouldn't become depressed. But you should know there's evil in you, so you should look negatively at your faults. A person has to face his faults. But on the other hand, you're only like a rasha. The wording is kir rasha, like a rasha. That's going to be the answer he's going to say later on. Chapter 13. And in chapter 31, he says, a person should really find balance. On one hand, he should knock. Well, I don't know, today you can't use the word knock. But on one hand, he should recognize his faults and be critical. Self-criticism, self-awareness. What is Tanya about? Tanya is a book of self-awareness, self-analysis, a guidebook, working on ourselves. Maybe today a lot of people are not ready for that. And therefore, this point, maybe they're not ready for it. But on the other hand, then they're only, even if they sinned and they cheated and they did things that are wrong, they should know they're only like a rasha because they still have good in them. They're not totally the other side. And that brings us to the development of the theme that it's not just black and white. There is black, and there's a rasha is black, and the tzaddik is, let's say, white. Then there's the Beinoni. I don't know if he's gray, but he has flashes of black and flashes of white. That's really what the Beinoni is, the intermediate level. He has flashes of white and he has both in him at the same time. And we're big enough to have both in ourselves at the same time. And that brings us to the next piece, which is going to bring, that we find in the Gemara, these what he calls 5 levels, 5 divisions. It's important to hear the Hebrew. That's why I'm reading the Hebrew, even though many people don't understand the Hebrew. Because the text of the Tanya is holy. In fact, Chassidim would say it's the Bible of Chassidus, it's the Torah of Chassidus. Therefore, hearing the words of Tanya in the original Hebrew, the original holy words chosen by the Alter Rebbe, taken from the Kabbalah and from the Gemara, and his Torah insights, this is very holy. So therefore, I think it's important to follow the text. We find in the Gemara 5 divisions. Tzaddik v'toiv, tzaddik v'rala. In tzaddik itself, there's 2 types. A tzaddik that has it good and a tzaddik that has it bad. This is usually in the Gemara, the context is, he has trouble in his life. There could be a tzaddik, a righteous person, who has a bad life. And there's a tzaddik v'toiv, he has a good life. But the Alter Rebbe is going to take this and develop this idea more not on how he's living his life, and if he has a happy life and a good life, physically, but the Alter Rebbe is really going to the psychological analysis of what the 2 types of tzaddik is. So, but you find the term in the Gemara, there's a tzaddik who has good, and tzaddik who has bad, who has it bad. Rasha v'tayvle, Rasha v'lala, he too in a rasha. There's a rasha who has it good, and a rasha who has it bad. Ubeinoni. So I said there's 3, tzaddik, rasha, beinoni. But actually, in the Gemara, we have 2 categories of tzaddik and 2 categories of. Now, let's analyze this. It's very important, this analysis, because the Alter Rebbe doesn't want to give opinions that's just based on his feelings. He's giving advice to people and guidance to people, but as we said before, it's based on Torah. It's not just an advice book that some popular writer wrote, a Dale Carnegie type of book, Chas v'shalom. Tanya is written by the Alter Rebbe and the people who he advised, and the philosophy that he taught them, and the psychological analysis that gave them was based on Torah and Kabbalah and Gemara, and it's the word of God. That's why it's true. So a person is coming to him and says, Rebbe, who am I? What am I? Help me understand myself. So Alter Rebbe says, wait a minute. You're going to categorize yourself. You have to categorize. Are you a tzaddik? Are you a rasha? What kind of tzaddik? What kind of rasha? And the main focus is the Beinoni. The Beinoni is the person who has this struggle and this purpose and meaning in their life. So therefore, he's going to move aside, he's going to point out what is the tzaddik, what's the rasha, but then the real book is called the book for the Beinoni. So let's analyze it. Let's go through the Gemara analysis. So the Gemara says, and Gemara is Hashem's word, Torah. So the Gemara says, categorization, we're analyzing the category of a tzaddik, the two types of a tzaddik. One is a complete tzaddik, one is an incomplete. All right, we have more words now. He has a bad, but it's also incomplete. In the Zohar, a section of the Zohar, it's called Rai Mehemna, here we now have a deeper meaning, a Kabbalistic insight, really also a psychological insight. He's saying, in the Zohar says, that what does it mean, the tzaddik with good? It doesn't only mean a tzaddik who has a good. It means tzaddik who has good in him. The Zohar is Kabbalah. It's looking at the inner workings of everything. So if you see this tzaddik that has it good, it's because inside of him there is only good. And tzaddik v'rale, a tzaddik who has it bad, it means that this is a tzaddik that has inside of him bad. But since he's a tzaddik, so therefore the good totally controls the bad. But there's something in there. And then there's the Beinoni. What's the Beinoni? That's the next piece of Gemara. Gemara says Peritas the Brachas, so they can make Tzitayv Shoftan Chulu V'Chulu Chulu L'Shoy Mitzahara Shoftan Men Muzev Zer Shoftan V'Chulu. Here we have some more analysis, categorization based on the text of the Gemara. Nothing is invented. Nothing of ideas. Of course, there are original ideas in Tanya, but it came through insight and understanding the word of Hashem that's in the Gemara and the Kabbalah works, and the traditions that he received from the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid and the earlier works of great tzaddikim. So what does this text say? That there are judges, that we have judges. The wording of the Gemara is, in each one of us, there's a good inclination that judges, then there's evil inclination that judges. So, and therefore, what does a judge do? He renders a decision, and we have to follow the decision. You have to live by the decision that the judge makes. So the Gemara says that the tzaddik, it has one judge, one system, good. The rasha has one judge, one system. It's a system of evil, of wickedness. That's what the rasha was talking about, the extreme. The Beinoni has two judges, like we mentioned before. He has flashes of white and flashes of white. It's not gray. There's nothing gray. He has flashes of white and flashes of black. They are both judging him. So now we have more understanding of the Beinoni. And as I said, that's going to be the main focus of this book. Omer Rabba Kogoina no Beinoni. Whether we're discussing this idea of the Beinoni, Rabba who was one of the sages who lived in Babylonia, Bavel, a wonderful place today called Iraq. It was a big Jewish community. The center of Jewish life was in there in the time of Rabbah. Rabbah lived about the year 300 in the Common Era. between 300 and the year 300 and 400. So when they were discussing about the two judges, the Beinoni, so Rabbah in his great humility, he was teaching this to his disciples, students. Rabbah was the head of the head in his generation. He was the head, one of the heads of Torah leadership. And the yeshiva and the rabbinate was all under him. So he said, you want to know what a Beinoni is? I'm a Beinoni. Beinoni? A Beinoni? So one of his main disciples, Abaya, who would later take the leadership after the passing of Rabbah, he says, Rebbe, you're a Beinoni? Then what does that make us? You're saying we're all wicked? We're all Rishayim? Rabbi, you're a tzaddik. Why are you calling yourself a Beinoni? We know you're a tzaddik. Why are you calling yourself a Beinoni? You're not letting us live. We're like wicked people who don't deserve to live if you're only a Beinoni. So this is very important. And Alter Rebbe is going to develop this thought. When Rabbi said, I'm a Beinoni, he meant it. This is going to be developed as we go down the page. So this is telling us something about a Beinoni, that Rabbah could think that he's a Beinoni, even though Rabbah was a person who was a holy Jew who started to learn day and night. So it shows us that a Beinoni is someone that Rabbah could mistake himself to think is a Beinoni. Rabbah really was a tzaddik. But it means that a Beinoni must be in a high level, much higher than what we think, that Rabbah would think that he's a Beinoni. So that's giving us insight on what the Beinoni is. To understand all of this, so this is what I call the third question. The third question that he raises to explain, it's not in a way of a question here, he's saying we need to understand this. These categories. Tzaddik, Rasha, Beinoni. We have to understand this. Because it's about us. To better understand yourself, you understand what is a tzaddik, what is the workings of a tzaddik, what's the workings of a Rasha, and what's the workings of a Beinoni. And that's going to help us understand ourselves. Question number 4, here's another verse. Text of Gemara is very important. Text of Gemara is fundamental. And what does the Gemara say? That in the name of Eve, that Eve said, Eve was debating, even arguing with Hashem, of course, with his troubles. The words that the Gemara puts in the mouth of Eve is, Hashem, you created righteous people and you created wicked people, the Shayim. So these are the words the Gemara puts in the mouth of Eve, as if Eve was right in saying that. They're quoting these. This is worthy. The Gemara feels it's worthy to quote Eve when he said to and complained to Hashem, "You created everything; it's all yours." And the words he said is, "You created tzaddikim and Hashem." But we have a problem with that, because when a person is born up in heaven, they decree he's going to be rich or he's going to be poor. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be sick. 10 years rich, 10 years poor. 20 years healthy, 20 years sick. Everything that's going to happen with us is decided up in heaven. Everything that is physical. But things that pertain to our mission on earth, that we'll give a free choice. It's not been ordained that someone's going to be a tzaddik or it's going to be a Rosh. So how does the Gemara say, so puts in a line over there, Hashem, you said, you created tzaddikim, you created a shayim. What does it mean? Created Rishayim. That means I have no choice. That means I'm a Rasha because Hashem created me that way. But that's not the way it works. When Hashem says, Tzadik v'Rasha le'ka'amar. So all of this is going to be leading in the direction of what the Beinoni is. And the answer to this question is very important. So I don't want you to wait until we get to that chapter. Because the answer to this question is, it's in chapter 14 and 27, one of my favorite chapters in Tanya. One of the reasons people relate to Tanya so much is, and especially people who want to be and want to do Torah, live the Torah life, and they feel that they're struggling a lot, they're failing. And especially this is applied even, I think, for secular people also today, because there are moral challenges that I think more than ever before you see in the news. Big people, some are very intelligent people, and they fall very low. And people who preach morals, and they're not necessarily hypocrites, they just have human weakness and failings. People are discussing this. I don't want to get into names of, pointing out this great person and this great person. They also had foibles. And here the Torah says 630 mitzvahs, do this, don't do this, don't do that. And we ask ourselves, I don't feel that I could live that. And therefore he says something interesting. The Alter Rebbe is going to follow one of the points that he makes, one of the principal points that he makes, and several fundamental points is, Hashem didn't put you in this world to change your nature. Hashem put you in this world to do what's right. You could do what's right and still have desires and thoughts to do what's wrong. Some people who are noble, but they have some cruel ideas. Some people can be very noble, and the thoughts that enter their mind can be very wicked. Some people can be very noble, and they have jealousy brewing, or lust. Crazy ideas. So are they phonies? One of the fundamental points of Tanya is that the inner makeup of our emotions we're not so much in control. And a lot of it has to do with the instincts and our DNA. And some people have a certain tendency for jealousy more than others. Some people have a tendency for lust more than others. Some people have these crazy ideas and a big ego more than others. And as thoughts of vengeance come into their head. A lot of bad stuff. The Alter Rebbe says, don't get carried away with the bad stuff that's in your inner workings. Because it could be you were created that way, and your mission in the world is not to change so much your inner workings, but more your actions. What are you doing? So if you have a thought of jealousy in your head, so as soon as that thought, the fact that jealousy is going to be generated in your head, that could be a DNA problem. It could be an emotional problem. But as soon as it gets in your head, say, this is wrong. I'm just not going to think about it. Let me do other things. I'm not going to brood upon my jealousy. And a lustful thought comes into his head. He sees an image that's not kosher, and he shouldn't be looking. So the fact that a lustful thought comes into his head, it could be that's his nature. His nature, Hashem created us, biology, some of our other part of our instincts. Some have stronger lust. Hashem put in every person's heart lust. So now we should want to get married. How much lust? Someone has more, someone has less. But the fact that we are programmed with a certain tendency to think wrong and to do wrong, you're not going to change that tendency. You can work on it, you can refine it, but you're not going to get rid of it. And even if you're a chassid who davens and learns, and you want to be a Beinoni, it's possible that you're going to go in the street and see an image that's not so kosher, and it's going to give a click in your head. And you can ask him, what's going on with me? I'm trying to be a chassid. Why am I? These ideas, these thoughts are coming to me. Why are these images having an impact on me? The answer is because he's born that way. So what am I supposed to do? So he comes to the Alter Rebbe and says, what am I supposed to do? Could be a secular person also, has struggles. He's in the office, and he's married, and he sees something over there, someone there he shouldn't be involved. He can't get it out of his mind. What am I supposed to do? So the Alter Rebbe says to him, you can't change your nature, or it's very hard to change your nature. A tzaddik changes his nature, but you're not a tzaddik, you're a Beinoni. And most people, 99% of people are Beinonis. And Hashem created you to be like a Rasha. Meaning you have the desires of a Rasha, but you don't act out your desires. So if a forbidden thought comes into your head, just push it aside. Don't follow through, not in thought, not in speech, and not in action. And that's what life is about. It's about the practical. This is one of the main points of Tanya. And why Tanya is attractive. Because the average person says, oh, Tanya is talking to me. Whether he's very religious or he's secular, but he has a sense of right and wrong. The bum, Tanya is not going to talk to him. If you're a bum, Tanya is not going to talk to you. But if you're a person who maybe her life is like a ping pong ball sometimes, but he has a conscience and has a sense of right and wrong, and he wants to bring up his kids with a sense of right and wrong. So then Tanya is telling him how to handle that struggle. And that's what he's going to answer later on in chapter 14. That Hashem created Rishayim. What does it mean, Rishayim? Not really wicked people in action. He created people that they have the inner workings of a Rasha, and you're not going to really be able to change that. Hashem didn't create you to change that. He created to be a warrior, and your whole life you're going to spend in this battle and inner struggle and overcoming every day and every time a thought comes or words that are inappropriate or action that's inappropriate. And that's where he goes in the next few lines. Let's understand, what does this Beinoni mean? What does it mean in the middle? Certainly, the Beinoni is not half and half. You do find in our literature, in the Jewish literature, Torah literature, even in Gemara, they would sometimes look at the Beinoni as someone who has, in the scale of life, half mitzvahs and half avedas. But the Tanya is not looking at the loose use of the term Beinoni or tzaddik or Rasha, but is looking for the exact definition. Because the Alter Rebbe is trying to tell a person, listen, you want to understand who you are, you want to understand what you are, you want to understand yourself, you want to analyze yourself, let's look at the Torah definition. So let's really find out what's the essential definition. What's the essence of a Beinoni? What's the essence of a tzaddik? What's the essence of a Rasha? So certainly a Beinoni is not someone who has half sins and half mitzvahs. A regular guy who bums around and doesn't bum around. Shem came Eichtar Rabbi Ba'atzmi Lai Mishur Beinoni. V'naydim le'pasek poni b'girsa. Ad shavilu malachamov s'la yachlish l'bayim. V'echal yachlit machzav v'ayis chaz v'shom. Rabbi said, I'm a Beinoni. He said, I'm a Beinoni. Rabbi was a Jewish leader, spiritual leader of the Jewish people in this time. In the Gemara, every other day, I'm learning with my students of the laws concerning marriages, concerning marriage, the laws of Shabbos, all the laws of the Torah. Rabbi said like this. Rabbi asked this. Rabbi Yosef said this. The colleague of Rabbi was Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi said like this. We're still studying and analyzing the Torah teachings of Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef from almost from 1,500 years ago, 1,600 years ago, 700 years ago. We're analyzing Rabbi. Rabbi was from the leaders in his time. He was the Rebbe. Rabbi was the Rebbe. So he said, for example, I'm a Beinoni. So he meant, I'm a regular guy, but I'm around. Half of the time I'm around. No. You have to understand, he's leading up to the Beinoni. The Beinoni, the essential definition of Beinoni, it's not someone who's half sins and half mitzvahs. Because the Rabbi wouldn't make that mistake. And he wouldn't tell his students a lie. He's teaching them. He's teaching, I'm a Beinoni. So he's telling them, I'm a Beinoni. He wasn't lying to them. I sit on the side sometimes, I'm in the middle. No. He was telling them, he's a teacher. He has to tell them the truth. So he's teaching what a Beinoni. He says, for example, a Beinoni. So what do you mean by that? How could he say that he's a Beinoni if he never sinned? Even when it came for his time to die, and the angel of death came to take him, he had trouble taking him. Because when a person is studying Torah, the angel of death can't touch him. And since Rabbah, the Gemara describes how Rabbah, the angel of death had a problem because Rabbah was always learning Torah. He's always learning. So the angel of death had trouble. So here is a man who was immersed totally in Torah. So how is it possible to say that he was a Beinoni? Besides that, if a guy sins, he does evil and he does good. So when he does good, he's a tzaddik. When he does evil, he's a rasha. So what's going on? When a person, here's bringing out another point. What's a rasha? This part over here is very demanding. The rasha, even if you did one sin, you're already a rasha. When you see a person half of Eretz and everything, if you go against God, you're a rasha. That's an act of rebellion against God. So even if you do one sin, you're a rasha already. If you do tshuva, then you're not a rasha. But it just takes one sin. You're saying half sins and half mitzvahs makes you a Beinoni. Even one sin you make a rasha because you rebelled against God, so you're a rasha. I feel ever. There's a culture that we say for the rasha. It's not only if you broke a Torah law that's written in the text of the Torah. Even if someone, the Gemara says that even if someone went against the laws instituted by our sages, is also called a rasha. Not only that, if you could have stopped wrong from happening and you stood by quietly, you didn't speak out at wrong happening, you're also a rasha. So a rasha is called a rasha. So here the computer, the mind of the Alter Rebbe is sifting through the entire Talmud and saying, look, one sin, you're a rasha. Even to go against the words of the Chachamim or the sages, you're a rasha. And even if you stood by while wrong was happening and you didn't speak out, you're a rasha. So then, Rabbi wasn't a rasha, he was a Beinoni. So you have to find a new definition of what rasha is and what Beinoni is. So therefore, you're going to have to say what he's leading up to is, a Beinoni could be someone who didn't sin at all, and he's still a Beinoni. So how could it be a Beinoni? He's in the middle, he's intermediate man, or some translation called the in-betweener. Rabbi Miller calls it the in-betweener. So he's in the middle. So with what is he in the middle? If he didn't sin, he's saying if he sins, he's a rasha. How can it be someone who doesn't sin and he's still not a tzaddik? And the answer he's going to lead up to is the Beinoni in the inside is like a Russian. Because he has the same lust like a Russian. He has the same jealousy in his heart like a Russian. He has the same ego like a Russian. Probably better because he worked on himself. Depends on what kind of Russian also. The difference between a Beinoni and a Russian is acting it out. On the outside, the Beinoni is like a tzaddik. He does the wrong. He could be a Beinoni and still do. He never did anything wrong, but he's still a Beinoni. Why? Because does he have a Yetzer Hara? Does he have lust? Does he have ego? Is always his heart pumping up stuff? Does he have certain drives that are not kosher? So the inside, so this is the definition of a Beinoni. A Beinoni, and it's going to be developed in the coming chapters. A Beinoni is somebody who on the inside is like a Rasha, because what motivates a Rasha to sin is lust. So what does a Rasha has? Lust in his heart. And then he thinks about it. And then he speaks about it. Then he does, acts out. Forbidden acts that originated in his heart, the lust. And tzaddik has no lust. Tzaddik we're talking about is going to be someone who has no lust. So therefore, the Beinoni is someone who does have lust. So inside he's like a Russian. But on the outside he's a tzaddik. Because when these thoughts come into his head that he can't control, the original thought coming that he can't control, because his emotions and his DNA are generating all those thoughts in his head. But as soon as it comes into his head, he moves it aside. He overcomes it. He overcomes. So he doesn't act out on the thinking which shouldn't be thinking. He doesn't act out in the speech he shouldn't be saying. He doesn't act out in action that he shouldn't be acting. So v'kolshki v'kal v'chayim mem v'vat leizim v'sei shef sh'l'kayim v'kol shef sh'l'asim v'teri v'neisik sh'al dar sh'azal k'tvar shem baza v'gayim yikaris t'karis v'gayim. Our sages tell us, if you were lax in fulfilling a positive mitzvah, you didn't break a rule. You just didn't follow through with a rule. Or you could have studied Torah, you didn't study Torah. If you could have studied Torah, you didn't study Torah, you're insulting Hashem's words. Because you had an opportunity to study Torah, you didn't. So that person is also a Russian. Or Pshita the Mikri Russian, Tfema, every Sudan Abbanim. And certainly he's a bigger Russian than someone who went against the words of our sages. So here we have a Rasha is even one sin, even what others would call not such a heavyweight sin, we consider a Rasha. So Beinoni is not a Rasha. So then what's a Beinoni? The reason why Rabbah thought he's a Beinoni, because even someone who has no sins is still a Beinoni. So Rabbah thought, he knew he doesn't sin. So he thought, the fact that I don't sin is because I'm a Beinoni. Rabbah also didn't have the DNA of a Rasha either. The truth is, Rabbah was a tzaddik. But he's still, later on in Tanya he's going to explain, Rabbah was really a tzaddik. But he was so immersed in Torah, he thought, the reason why I don't have lust is because I'm so busy learning, I have no time for lust. The reason I don't have jealousy, I'm so busy learning, I have no time for jealousy. The reason I don't have grudges is because I'm so busy doing, being a Rebbe, I have no time for this stuff. And Rabbah, in his humility, thought that if I would have, been out in the street, or if I would have been, not so busy in yeshiva teaching, or with the rabbis, or with the families who are coming to consult him, if I was busy with that, I would have lust and I would have jealousy. That's what Rabbah thought. He was a Beinoni. So that was his mistake, so to say. His that is a better word. That's how he underestimated himself. But certainly he knew that he doesn't break the law ever on anything. If a Beinoni also is someone who breaks the law sometimes, Rabbi knew that he never breaks the laws in thought, speech, or action. So that was nothing new for Rabbi. But Rabbi knew that a Beinoni is someone who is complete in thought, speech, and action. And he's still a Beinoni because what's going on inside. He never had a chance to he has no time for all this emotional baggage, so therefore he doesn't. Now, even though we find, I want to move a few lines until the next issue, until the next, before we start the next year. Even though you find in other places in the Gemara, in the Talmud, where they say a Beinoni is in the middle, half mitzvahs and half averos, that is a borrowed term. That is not a clear definition of what a Beinoni is. It is a common usage, right? But it's not really the definition that Torah gives, their essential definition of what the category of a Beinoni is. There's if a person has more mitzvahs than averos, Hashem judges him more positively. All of us are going to be punished for our sins and rewarded for our mitzvahs. If someone is doing more mitzvahs than averos, he's judged more positively. If someone who's his scales, if we have imagine the scales, and he's doing more evil than good, then he's considered. Then Hashem judges them accordingly. If someone is equal, so Hashem could sway this way, that. That's a Beinoni. When you're talking about how Hashem judges you as far as reward and punishment. But that's not the real definition of Beinoni that the Alter Rebbe is looking for. The Alter Rebbe is looking for the inner workings, the psychology, the spiritual psychology, the mental psychology of what a tzaddik is, what it's going through the mind and the soul and the spirit of a tzaddik, what's going through the mind and the soul and the spirit of a Beinoni. So that's what he's looking for the definition. That's what he's saying. A Beinoni could be someone who never sins, but his inner workings are still struggling. And he's still a Beinoni. If he breaks the laws, he's a Rasha. So therefore, the usage of the term of the scales are equal as a Beinoni is just a borrowed term, but not really a definition. Someone, you can't say someone is a tzaddik because he has more mitzvahs than averos. It's not a tzaddik. The definition of a tzaddik that the Alter Rebbe talks about, which he's saying over here, is someone who's a rare occasion, once in a generation or a few in a generation. The Rebbe will be a tzaddik. That's someone who doesn't sin, and even his inner workings are holy and pure. That is really what a tzaddik is. So even though you may find, well, they looked at a person that he was a tzaddik because in his judgment he had more mitzvahs than averos, that's for certain purposes of reward and punishment. That we use the label tzaddik, but it's a label, not a real definition. So we're going to end over here. So here we have the beginning, the fundamental workings. You see, he bases it on Talmudic work. But after this, the Alter Rebbe is going to start the analysis and the inner workings of what's a soul, and the different sides, the good, the white and the black, the good and the evil working together in the Beinoni, all the sides in them, and the volcano that's in him, one side and then the other side, or the two volcanoes that are in him. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night.